nuts and bolts of the internship program a little bit. It is a drastic change from how you do school. So if you are in this room and you have 0 AP classes, come March 29th, after March 29th, you no longer step foot in Sutton High School. Your classes and coursework at Sutton High is over. I'm not trying to sound dramatic, it's factual. And then you can see the math based off your AP classes. So the only reason you're coming back to this school is for your AP course. And when your AP course is over, we'll talk about that towards the end of the presentation, you'll take those hours and put them back into your internship. So once you take that AP exam, so I think the first AP exam is AP Chem, maybe it's May 3rd, I have it on the calendar, then you're no longer taking the AP Chem class. Does that make sense? So you're in your AP class until the AP exam. Once that AP exam is over, you take those hours and you transfer them into your internship. If you have 0 APs, you are off into the wild, no longer here, come April 1st. Any questions on this? As you're out into the wild, it doesn't necessarily mean you're completely done with the academic expectations. So each week, you will send me, and I'll go over this in 5 minutes, an email summarizing, discussing what you learned that week, maybe an interesting story, anecdotal story, a task, funny story, and then you'll get your hours signed from your employer. You'll send that along to me. That happens every week. There's an employer thank you letter that's mandatory as a letter of gratitude for your employer. That's part of your grade. There's 2 surveys you'll complete, and then of course there's the capstone presentation on May 20th, which you have all seen as underclassmen, and you will now be part of on May 20th. This picture is kind of funny too, because this guy's our, what is he now, Mr. Wallace? Harrison? What's his? He's our business manager, but this was him as an intern just a few years ago. Again, I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself, but it's a precursor to where we're heading at the end of the presentation and the capstone presentation. So this has now become part of the graduation requirement. Our graduation requirement has a capstone assessment. Your capstone assessment is when you present in the gymnasium to the underclassmen and teachers. We're going to add a little twist this year just for you, just for this class, because it's so special. We're going to have select teachers, secret teachers grading you as well, just to keep you on your toes. Because it's part of the graduation requirement, we're going to make sure the entire school and faculty is assessing this as well. So your 4th quarter grade, if you are 0 APs, your 4th quarter grade is what you earn for me in those 6 weeks' time. So it's an average of your weekly emails, your survey, your thank you letter, your capstone presentation. Your 4th quarter transcript in all of your classes will be the grade that you earned in your internship. So if you scored an 87 or a 94, every single class for that 4th quarter will be 87 or 94. The only exception to that rule, or if you're in an AP class, your AP teacher will grade you for that 4th quarter because you'll be with them for the majority of the 4th quarter. But for the non-AP classes, your grade is from the internship. Makes sense? Questions? It's quick, we'll be out here. Still have the fireplace in the background. So professional expectations. Give you a second to look at those. One thing I want to point out that's a shift, maybe it's a generational shift, but the majority of the employers communicate via email. And I know maybe we don't communicate as much through email, us, the students. So as the program starts, like after tonight, and you start looking at your application and you're reaching out to your employer, I would really urge you, implore you to start checking your email, because your employer most likely is going to communicate with you via email. So be on the lookout for that. Obviously, I'll share their email addresses with you, but change that shift in communication as well. The other thing I just want to say with the professional expectations is a lot of our internships are presented to us because the students before you that have come through here have done a fantastic job. And we have employers that when I call them, like for example, Maddie Cruz is working at the Blackstone Valley Hub. And when I call, they're like, just send me whomever you want because you always send us the best students. So a lot of these opportunities are afforded to us because of students in the past who went there and did a wonderful job. So that same expectation I'm putting upon you to go there and represent yourself in the school, in the community, to the best of your ability. So you'll get the best experience, and then these experiences will be continued and offered to us in years to come. Any questions on that? So the program expectations, there's a soft deadline and there's a hard deadline. So the soft deadline is March 14th, the hard deadline is the 22nd. And that's regardless if you're doing a passion project, internship, year-long intern, you need to submit an application. I'll go over that in a few minutes. I know some of the teachers have been talking to you about this. I know Mr. McCarthy, I think, was on the intercom the other day about this, so maybe he talked to you today in assembly. But you need to have a 70 or above in all of your classes. So I know 22 days is really close. I know you may have an average of like a 90, and you're like, for the fourth quarter, it can be a 60 because mathematically, I'm an English teacher, it's an 81. But we're not gonna let you leave the building into the wild unless all of your courses are above 70. So make sure this Friday, progress reports close. That gives you 3-ish weeks from now until the 29th to get your grades set. We've held kids, including last year. We won't allow you to leave the building unless all your grades are above 70. We will keep you until your grades get above, and then we'll let you go. And then part of the application as well, we want to ensure that you've reached out to your employer prior to April 1st. So you're not just showing up on April 1st, like, hey, I'm here. So that'll be part of the application process. Any questions on the program expectations or anything that's been presented to you so far? Okay. There's like some white noise the whole time. So the Google Classroom page, I double checked. I believe everybody's on it. If you're not, please let me know when you leave. But I want to spend some time with you on this because this is anything and everything you need to start and continue the internship is on this page. So it's completely done. And I put it in a way that makes sense for me, but I don't know if that makes sense for you, but I'll explain how it all works. So the finalized placements, the majority of you have an internship or a passion project established at this point. If you don't, if you click this link, I'm not going to click the link, I don't want to call anyone out, and there's a blank space next to your name, you don't have a placement yet. We need to get a placement for you because April 1st is coming fast. If you're one of the students who doesn't have placement, if you click this link, the internship ideas, that's a curated list of probably the last 3 or 4 years of employers that we've worked with, and it's a live document. So as an internship is taken, I put a little strike through, but that can give you some ideas. And of course, you're not just tethered to the ideas on that particular document, but it could be a great starting point for many of you who are still pondering, what am I going to do for an internship? All right, I want to spend a couple minutes with the application. This is especially important for the caregivers and parents who came out. I really appreciate you coming out tonight. So I'd like to think the application, in summation, will take you 30 minutes. And that includes the intern working on this as well. Side note, copies of this application will be available to you in the library tomorrow. If you want to submit this digitally, you are more than welcome to, but Ms. Garded already has copies of this. I just didn't have her put them out because I didn't want to overwhelm you and have you fill some things out before you knew exactly what to do. So the most cumbersome part of this application is the insurance. But we need the insurance because a lot of you are leaving off campus. Knock on wood, in 10 years, we've never had an accident or to use insurance, not once, which is really impressive because almost 800 kids have done an internship. So this needs to be completed. And also, the other thing that needs to be completed when you hand this in, so you have the application done, you go get her, bring it to me, here you go, Marcucci, and the first thing I'm going to ask you is, have you contacted your employer? And if the answer is no, I'm going to give you back the application. So complete the application, and then I want you to contact your employer. Marcucci, I'm super nervous. I don't know how to contact my employer. I don't know what to say. What do I do? Right under the application is a template email. I even put it in bold, all caps. I'm mildly yelling at you. And you can use that verbatim if you will. You can customize it. It's short, it's sweet, but you want to make sure you contact your employer because they may have some things for you, paperwork, et cetera, but you just don't want to show up blindly on April 1st. April Fools, I'm here for an internship without talking to them. Any questions on the application? So you can submit it digitally if you'd like. If you want to take a look at it, you can go to the library tomorrow. They'll have copies for you. Work through it with a caregiver. The insurance is probably the most tedious part. The rest you can breeze through. Even if you don't have an internship at this point, you can still do the application, pending, of course, once you contact the employer. Once you have those three things, turn it in, and it's due no later than March 22nd. Questions on that? And this is an easy crowd. This is maybe the easiest crowd we've had. The other piece that's at the end of the application that could be incredibly helpful for you and your employer is I made a calendar for you all. So it has our school days, and this is more so for students who are maybe juggling AP classes, spring sports, part-time jobs, etc. You can go through this and fill this out and share this with your employer. Because the employers don't necessarily understand school speak. They don't understand like drop 2 or day 3 or band trip or prom. Well, they do, but it's much easier if you can give them something concrete and share it with them. So if you're a non-AP kid, if you have no APs, this is really easy. You're going through your 25 hours that works best with you and the employer. But if you're juggling some things, this can be really helpful for you. For my students who are on band trip, anyone? Bueller? Okay, so those 2 days, those are 5 hours a day. What does that mean, Marcucci? So the magic number is 25. You have to add up to 25 hours each week. That includes either internship or APs. So if you're on a band trip, those 2 days, that's a school-sanctioned event. That's 5 hours for each day. That's 10 hours. So what if I'm not in band? Do I get 5 hours? No, you don't get 5 hours. You have to be on the band trip to get the hours for the band trip. Same thing with Costa Rica. Is anyone going to Costa Rica? Amazing. I went there a few years ago. I almost died 3 times. It was the best trip, well, maybe of my life. Scorpion in my bag, lost my luggage. I got bucked off a horse. It was amazing, all of it. So same thing with my Costa Rica friends. It's a school-sanctioned trip, so you have those hours for that particular week. April vacation, there's a little note in here. You are not required to work this week. It's April vacation. However, caveat, if your job is paid and you want to work over April vacation, go for it. Caveat number 2, sometimes life happens. If you're short on your hours in the first or second week and you need to make some hours up, it could be a really low stress time to do that. Maybe it takes you a day or a half day to make up those hours and you're back on track. Remember, your hours are directly tied to your graduation requirement, and I'll get to that in a few minutes. So this calendar is here for you. It's not necessarily required to complete. It's really a case-by-case situation whether or not you're completing this. but it will be incredibly helpful for your employer, especially if you have a lot to juggle. If you're like, I have an AP B block, I have an AP E block, I play baseball, you're probably filling this calendar up. And it goes all the way through to May. Same thing with prom, whether you go or not. And then I just want to spend a minute on my AP friends. So the day has the AP calendar here for you. So AP Chem was indeed the first test. So if you only take, I'm just going to do a theoretical, if you're only in AP Chemistry, you take that exam on the 6th, great job. It's a 4-hour exam. There's your 4 hours for the day. From May 7th to May 17th, you are out of school. You're just spending that time with your internship. So the week of May 13th, you're putting in 25 hours at your internship, not 20, because you're not coming to school for AP Chem. AP Chem is no longer. Does that make sense? Any questions on any of this? Yeah, I like that forward thinking, sure. I would always say, thank you for that question, it's a great question. Just be sure you communicate that to me and the employer as well. But like I'm going to DC on a college tour with my family, it's gonna take 2 days. Yes, please stack those hours in April. I really appreciate that thinking, thank you. Any other questions? Yeah, of course. I'm going to get to the pay at the end. We've worked through some grants the last couple of years. We've had the HISIP grant, which pays our on-campus kiddos in education. We're working through that. Massachusetts has been really tough with this grant this year. That's another sidebar. And then we have another grant for our STEM friends. And then if you're getting paid, if you're doing manual labor, so that's a federal requirement that you're paid. But yes, of course they can work more than 25 hours in that week. Good question. Any other questions? Absolutely, yes. Ideally, we'd want to be consistent, but I think that question is very similar to the previous question, where if they have something busy that following week, a tour, a family trip, we take, we really try to treat everybody here as human beings and take people where they are. So life happens. As long as they honor that, that's fine. Good question. Any others? So there's the calendar. And if you're anxious or unsure of what to say, you have the application in the email right there for you. We're almost done, friends. 6:30, we're cruising. Okay. 2 more things, then a little fine print. Song and dance, and we're out here. Okay, so I said earlier the weekly assignments, there's still weekly expectations, and I just posted these. Here are the due dates. The first 3 weekly assignments are all the same, so I'll just look at one. I'm not going to look at all 6, because you'll get the point after just one. So the first assignment is due April 8th. The program starts on April 1st. So every assignment is due the following Monday at 10 o'clock. This assignment, all of these assignments individually would take you probably no more than 10 minutes. So the first assignment is you're just going to write a paragraph. What you learned, task you were assigned, any connection to classwork, schoolwork, any interesting story, anything anecdotal. It can be one of those, it can be all of those. It can be your own thing. It can be a diary, a reflection. And you're going to write that on this weekly check-in, Google Doc. And then the most important thing is you're going to have your employer. And for my passion project friends, you have an advisor, that's your employer. You're going to make sure that they sign off on your hours and sign your hours. And then you'll attach that and hit submit. And that is how we track your time on learning each week. And you'll do that every week. And the reason why it's due the following Monday is sometimes on Friday you may forget, oh, I forgot to have my boss sign my hours, what am I going to do? When you go back in on Monday, have them sign it. Or they can email me. It's fine. This is how we track your time on learning. This is super important. I'm not trying to go down this road. We have pulled people from the internship for not doing this. Even last year, 2 people. So if you're not accumulating your time on hours, and I'm going to your job site and you're not there, you'll be pulled from the program, and then you're back in school. You lose senior week. Again, it's not a scare. One kid had to do summer school and false diploma and whatnot. But it's super important. I cannot stress this enough. The weekly assignments are critical to you maintaining your internship. And I've had most of you as students, it will take you probably no more than 10 minutes. Any questions on the weekly assignments? Fire away. I don't know who that is, but I see a hand. You don't have to scan it. You can just print it. You can print it here at school, give it to the employer, and then the kids just take their smartphone, snap a picture, and upload it, and it's done. Yeah. Great question. Any other questions on the assignments or anything else? If you want to put that for me, that'd be great. But I have a pretty good sense of who's going on the band trip and Costa Rica trip. But if you, for that particular week, so let's just go with week 1. You're a band student. Let's just keep it really simple for me. You have 0 AP classes, so those first 3 days you accumulated 15 hours. You'll just say Monday through Wednesday you can submit the assignment that Wednesday or that Monday, and just a reminder like band trip. But I also have we're a really small school, so I have a pretty good sense of who's on the Costa Rica trip and who's on the band trip. Does that answer your question? Thank you. Any other questions? So we're almost done. Here's everything in my brain, how it works, right? Placements, ideas, application, calendar, template email, weekly assignments. Now we're getting way ahead of ourselves, but I just want to show this to you. Career fair presentation. This is on the 20th of May. So the first 2 things here are just your grade. You don't have to do anything with that. Marcucci, what does the poster board look like? What should it look like? You click this tab. There's examples, there's photos. You can come into my classroom. I have like 20 exemplar in my room. There's the scoring rubric. And there's a really awful video that I made like 8 years ago. I had watched it the other day. It was painful to watch. I thought Mr. Anderson was going to be here. We can remake it. It's a tough one for me to watch. But there's a video of me. Just ignore the dates. But I just speak to you for 3 minutes on what your expectations should be. So there's even a tutorial for you. That's at the very end. And then the employer evaluation. Your employer evaluates you halfway through the 6-week mark, so the 3-week mark, and at the end. And that goes in as a grade. And those are all the grades. And all of this is right here on Classroom. Let's look at the fine print. I actually think we covered it. That's how efficient we were. Post-AP classes, any questions on what to do after you take an AP exam? We're good? Costa Rica and prom, covered? Good? April vacation, covered? Good. Disciplinary infractions. So I mentioned disciplinary infractions. In 10 years, we've probably pulled 15 students from the program, maybe. The majority of them, sincerely, were not logging the hours. We did have 2 students get fired last year. And I should have maybe shared this story with you on the program expectations. This will be the last story I share, although I don't want to end on a sour note. Let's end with discipline. No, we'll end on a homework assignment. Equally as fun. My message to you when you go into the internship and your program expectations, you can't necessarily, if I'm going to be an intern at physical therapy, you can't expect on day 1 to go up to a patient and look at their knee and examine their knee. That's not going to happen, spoiler alert. So you're going to start at the ground zero baseline of that job. And there are going to be some days where it may not be glorious. You may have to make photocopies. You may have to do some clerical work. You may have to clean. It's part of any job. It's how you perform the job which will really determine your success. It's not necessarily the job that you're doing. It's your performance on how hard you're working with that. So the list that I've looked at this year and the internships that you're scheduled for are fantastic, and you're going to have wonderful experiences. Just go there, be yourself, do the best you can. If you're unsure of something, communicate that to me right away. You know, I mentioned the student who after 2 days was miserable and didn't want to be a politician. We probably could have told that, but she didn't want to be a politician. But she communicated, and she didn't keep that inside because it would have been a miserable 6 weeks for her and also for the employer. So we want this to work both ways. We want the employer to be happy, we want you to be happy, then the school's happy, everybody's happy, you graduate, and it's a wonderful story. So make sure you're submitting your hours, but go there with the mindset that you're learning and you're getting experience and knowledge in a field and an edge in a field that you may or may not pursue for the rest of your life. And I promise you, good things will come of that particular event. Let's just end with some homework, and then I can hang back. And if anybody has any specific questions that you want to ask me, you can come on up. So your homework is you want to complete the application no later than March 24th. Remember, part of that application is you contacting your employer. If you need their contact, see me. Some of you may already have done that. And at the end of that application, make sure you spend some time on your schedule, especially if you are a student that has multiple AP courses or you're trying to balance a part-time job or a spring sport. And that is all I have for you, my friends. It is 6:38, not too shabby. We start at like 6:05, so 33 minutes. Any questions for me? Fire away. This presentation? No, I'm going to post it though, probably tomorrow. Yeah, oh yeah, for sure. So I email our employers every week as well, and a good chunk of our employers have worked with us in the past. So the employer side of it, they get documents from me as well, so they have a general expectation, understanding of what the student's going to ask of them. They know they're going to have to evaluate the student twice. They know they're doing a survey for us. They know that they need to sign each week. And such a good question. A lot of the employers too, because they know this is a homework assignment, they will actually give you time to do the assignment. So you're not even really doing homework. Like if you're at the YMCA, you know, Betsy on Thursday will be like, okay, Sam, take 10 minutes and do your assignment for Marcucci. Any other questions? Go ahead. It's both, and it depends on what the student is doing. I know that's a really ambiguous answer, but that's the real answer. It depends on what type of work the student is doing. If they're doing manual labor, federal law requires that they're paid. If they're doing something in the field of STEM, we did apply and receive a STEM grant. If they are working on campus with our future teachers, we are extremely hopeful still that they'll get a grant through the HISSIP Foundation. If they're doing nonprofit at Big Brother, Big Sister, Detect Now, they're probably not going to get paid. It's not. If they work at the senior center, it's a non-paid internship. I absolutely value and appreciate money, and a lot of our students in this room are heading off to college, which is an expensive debt. But it's the reminder: the internship program is not a work study program, though. Too, like I want to throw that out there too. It's really part of their school day. So it's like, well, why can't I? If I'm not going to get paid, can I just like, can I work at Market 32 and do that as my internship? No, not if you're going to school for physical therapy, no. Because the internship is preparing you for your future. And Market 32 is great, but you can still maintain that part-time job and find something in physical therapy where you're doing both things. Yes, great question. So my PV friends, you'll meet Nate Henry and you'll go through that kind of paperwork with him, which is why I really would implore you, the sooner you can get your application in and start connecting with your employer, because they may have paperwork for you as well, and get you squared away. Any other questions? No, not at all. If your passion project doesn't require you at the school, you can work on your passion project where you deem most appropriate. So I'm going to hang back here just in case anybody else has any other questions. I'll turn the lights on. Thanks so much for coming. If you have any questions, you can email me. Thanks for the claps. I appreciate y'all.
Hello, I'm Sergio Marcucci. I am the internship coordinator at Sutton High School, and this is my 11th year running this program. One of the questions I'm asked is what inspired me to start the program here. Well, it really started from Mr. McCarthy, who piloted the program with about 11 kids. And the following year, I thought we could try to take it a step further and get kids out into the classroom during the fourth quarter of their senior year. So we started with about 16 kids, and over that course of time, we went from 16 kids to now 100% participation during the last 5 years of the program. One of the things that drove us was providing authentic opportunity for our students and to start to build a professional network and connect with a lot of local businesses and organizations to give them a head start in life, whether that's through college, career, military. We thought this would be a great place to start. In terms of the graduating class of 2024, they were absolutely fantastic this year. They were diligent, they were professional. The reviews from the employers were great. They all commented on how well prepared and eager they were to learn, and we're just looking forward to keeping the program going. And also, a really nice side note for this class, not only did 100% of the seniors participate, this was the first time ever that we managed to get 100% of the seniors paid. So every kid in the program received a paid internship through a variety of grants, which is fantastic. And that's our program. Thanks so much.
Hi, I'm Maggie Jakubiak, and I was in first grade doing Future Teachers. So basically, I was in Miss Joyce's class, and I walked around, helped kids with assignments, and just kind of observed overall what the class was like. My favorite part of my internship was just working with the kids and getting to know all of them. They're all really sweet, good kids, so I had a lot of fun with that. And then I think the hardest part is just dealing with different behaviors and things like that and learning how to best manage like a classroom setting. And I was able to use a lot of the important lessons I learned about, running a classroom with my aftercare kids after school. So, yeah.
Hi, my name is Marina Estrella, and what did you like most about your internship? I really enjoyed being with all the kids and working with Mrs. Harpin. Being able to be with the teacher who I had when I was in third grade was a really good experience for me. What was the greatest challenge you faced? Probably handling the classroom alone. I had to do that once for about an hour and a half, and I got the hang of it, but it was difficult at first. It was definitely a learning experience. What was the most important lesson you learned? Definitely to just work by myself and be more independent and show the kids that they can do that as well. Overall, I had a great experience and I really enjoyed it.
So I interned at Renault Electric and Communications, a electrician's shop based in Sutton. I spent a lot of my time observing various electricians. We went around to a bunch of different places all around Massachusetts. These are various water boosting stations, one in Hopkinton, another in Taunton. This is Milford Medical. This is UMass Medical School in Worcester, and this is a UPS sorting facility in Norwood, Mass. So it's pretty interesting seeing all of the different trade workers, because some of these, they were renovating. Like this was a big office area they were renovating. And so I got to see carpenters, HVAC people, plumbers, so that was pretty interesting. I got to talk with them and see what their work was like. And all the trade workers need to work together so they can get the job done well. The greatest challenge I faced was basically understanding a lot of this electrical stuff. If you see some of this, a lot of this is already like set up, and some of this can be hard to understand because there's a lot of different wires going to a lot of different places. One of the main ways they stay organized is by labeling everything, so that's really important when it comes to electrical work because it can get confusing pretty quickly with all these wires. So that was pretty cool. And an important lesson I learned is that social skills are really important when it comes to this kind of work because you end up working with a lot of different people, like I said, and getting a job done well and efficiently is really important, and social skills help a lot with that.
Hi, I'm Erin, and I worked in Miss Kolofsky's class in first grade in the Simonian Center, and I kind of worked as a aide in the classroom. I took groups of kids and helped them work on projects and different assignments in the classroom. Overall, just like an extra set of hands in the classroom to help work on things. I'm not considering being a teacher, but I am going into the psychology field, so I would consider a career working with kids like occupational therapy or speech pathology or something along those lines. I really enjoyed this internship, even though I don't want to be a teacher. I really liked working with all the kids and getting to know them. And overall, even though I'm not doing teaching, there were some aspects like development and like social things that I could practice like psychology-wise that would relate to my future career. Greatest challenge I faced, because they're in first grade, they're not really focused, the kids, and they're a little bit wild, so it was hard sometimes to keep them on track, but I guess me being there kind of helped. It was an extra person to help them stay focused and get their work done. And then most important lesson I learned that teaching little kids is much harder than I thought it was. They really are a little difficult sometimes. They're really fun to work with though, and I also learned that Simonian Center teachers, they have a really like set lesson plan every day. I saw Ms. Kolofsky's lesson plan. They have certain things they have to complete every day for like the curriculum and learning development stuff, and I didn't realize that, so I thought that was really interesting.
So for my internship, I did third grade Miss Bannon's room, and one of the biggest challenges I faced was indoor recess. I didn't realize how crazy it was, and because of the way it was set up, only one IA was in a room, 2 rooms each, and there was 4 rooms in the third grade, so I came for indoor recess to help out, and there were so many fights. I didn't realize how crazy the kids got, and it was fights over mats and everything, and it was just so entertaining that you had to kind of step back and be like, okay, you have to be the teacher and like figure this out and not laugh, and I thought that was just a really good learning moment. I also learned from my internship that I wanted to go into somewhat school-based career. I'm going into social work next year, so that was one of the main things that I realized I do enjoy working with kids. In the beginning, when I first walked into my internship, I didn't know how to talk to kids, and I was like, I don't know how I'm going to talk to them, what I'm going to say to them, how I'm going to help them. And it's just so easy to me, and I just felt like so connected to them. So yeah, I really enjoyed working with them one-on-one and learning how their interests can correlate to like their math and their science and their English, and how to make those connections and help them get motivated to write and learn. So yeah.
All right, so for my internship, I did HVAC, which stands for heating, venting, and air conditioning. Some tasks I was assigned: I would load the hopper, air seal, which you can see right here, plug and tape drill holes. Here you can see my brother's drilling holes for me. And then after, we would use this hose, connect it to the hopper, which then shreds this insulation and then gets sucked through the hose. And then we would shove the hose into the drill hole and then fill with insulation. And The thing I liked most about my internship would probably be the paycheck every week. The paycheck was pretty good. The greatest challenge I faced was probably, surviving in the hot attic all day. They get like probably over 100 degrees. It wasn't fun. And the most important lesson I learned, honestly, just take your time with certain things. Don't rush it, because when you're in the attics, there's certain beams you can walk on, and if you miss a beam, you can fall through the roof. So I just say take your time and don't rush your work.
So I worked at Heritage Pools for my internship. So Heritage Pools is a pool company, and what I did with them is I was a part of their liner crew, which consisted of taking off pool covers, opening pools, changing heaters, doing a lot of electrical work and types of plumbing, and things of that nature. So in some of these pictures, you can see that I have an old heater here and a new heater. And as you can see in this picture, that's the new heater there. And in this picture, this is a return line, which is used to pump water through the pump back into the pool to get the pool running. And we had to replace that, as you can see in these two pictures here. My favorite part realistically was kind of seeing what my future could entail, seeing like different customers and types of people I'd end up meeting, and what manual labor is all about. And overall, this experience has been something that I've really enjoyed, and I think it's great for up-and-coming students to also partake. But yeah, thank you.
My everyday job at the Millbury Credit Union was to do withdrawals and deposits at the front desk as a bank teller. I dealt with my own money. I used a money machine. I worked at the drive-thru, and I just did whatever the customer asked me to do with their account.
I interned at the Blackstone Valley Chamber of Commerce. The most important lesson I learned was networking and how important that was to get ahead. So some of the things I did was planning different networking events in the community, such as the annual charity golf tournament, the networking after hours, and 2 ribbon cuttings. Overall, it was a great time.
Did my internship at TLC Pet Haven, and basically what we do is we watch your dog for the day, or if you go on vacation, we keep them there for however long you're gone, and basically just take care of them, make sure they're fed and all that, and just overall supervision of your dog or cat. And then something that I enjoyed most about working here was I got to know the dogs and cats that went there, so I would have a bunch of faces to look forward to when I would go into work.
All right, so we did a passion project, Sammy Services, small job service business that we created over the past 6 weeks. We were kind of inspired by Mr. Bailey. We worked for him before this project was even announced, and then we kind of ran with it, creating a customer base, networking through the Sutton Senior Center, volunteering there. Social media was a big part of this, and built a good customer base, working small jobs, just any random job that someone would need, and made about $1,500 in profit over the 3 to 4 week period following our couple weeks that we volunteered at the Senior Center. And one of the best parts about this was, as all of us have a good amount of AP classes, it was a more laid back project where we were able to find a lot of time where we could kind of fit in between our classes, and it was easier than a regular internship, which is the main reason why we chose the passion project. And we were also able to make money with it, obviously, which was a goal of ours when deciding what we would do. So we did face some challenges, and I'll pass it on to Ty here to talk about those.
So I'd say one of the biggest challenges we faced was time management. Just, because we would have to work our schedules out. We're all coming into school for part of the day. So just figuring, how long each job would take. We also had sports after school, so we'd really have to make our schedules ahead of time, and that's something that we learned how to do. Yeah.
So if we want to go, James, most important, our best lesson learned throughout our time at the passion project?
I'd say the most important lesson we learned is kind of like what the challenge was. I think just like time management and like dealing with like customers and whatnot. And it's like every job's different, so we had to like learn how to do like every different thing we had.
Okay, yeah, it was a lot of fun. We worked hard, got a lot of things done. We're moving on into the summer, so 774-545-0113. Call us for any of your service needs. There's no specialty to what we do. We do anything you need. Sammy Services, thank you, and we appreciate your time.
So I worked with Jenna, who runs a photography business. So because it's photography freelance, it's kind of like different every day. So some days I'd go in and just edit all day, and other days I would kind of take pictures, go on a nature walk like I have over there. Yeah, one of my biggest challenges was working on learning how to edit, because I'd actually never edited before I started this internship. So learning how to edit was kind of a big challenge, but I definitely learned a lot. And then kind of a big life lesson is that, especially with like a photography business, a lot of it's on your own. So there's no one really telling you what to do. So you kind of have to hold yourself accountable. So that was good.
All right, so I worked at Astellas. It's a biopharmaceutical company located near UMass Chan in Worcester. Basically, they're focusing on developing treatments for eye diseases. So we have this one disease in particular, AMD. It stands for age-related macular degeneration. It's found in people older than 50 years of age, and it affects about 1 in 100 Americans, so it's really common. And basically what will happen is over time you will start losing your central vision, so you won't be able to read, you won't be able to drive anymore. It's really life-altering. They do have a drug on the market called Izervay, and it will slow the progression of the disease, but in the end, it can't cure it. It will only slow the progression by about 12 to 15%. So they're trying to do some more results, see how they do more experiments, and they're trying to see how they can make it more effective and such. They also want to go internationally approved, so they're trying to do more experiments to show that it's safe, that it's easy to use, all of that. So what is the most challenging thing? Sure. So I wasn't able to do as much as I had hoped to do. Everyone there has PhDs, and they're all in the middle of their research, and they're doing such complex things. It took me 2 weeks to learn what they were doing, how they're doing it. If I had to do what they were doing even more in depth, I probably would have taken me longer. Oh, sorry. So I wish I was able to do more. I was able to do things, just not as much as I had wished I was able to do. Life lesson? Sure. It's amazing how complex such small things are. Your eye there's so many things going on in your eye all at the same time. And the slightest change in your DNA, in this protein, in an enzyme, and you could develop a disease, you could develop a whole bunch of things wrong with your eye, and it's really hard to cure it as well. So it's a good life lesson to show how complex the little things are. Yeah.
All right, so we worked at Advinia Care in Northbridge, and it's a nursing home for the elderly. And there's 3 different floors. There's the first floor, which is the dementia unit, the second floor, which is the more short-term, still assisted living, and then the third floor is the hospice unit. And I worked on dementia unit, which was definitely interesting, but it was a really good experience to put myself out there. And yeah, we took a CNA class at first, but now we're all working on our own.
What I liked most about working at Advinia Care was probably getting to connect with the elderly people. It was great getting to make these connections and new friendships.
The most important lesson I learned was really being grateful for the independence and the ability to see my family every day, because a lot of the residents don't have anyone to see, and they don't really have many places to go other than the nursing home. So it really makes their day getting any interaction with anyone, so it makes me very grateful for the life I have right now.
So we did our internship at Advinia Care, and there we were CNAs. And a CNA, we basically help with activities of daily living, like feeding, transferring, and hygiene with people that can't do it themselves.
My favorite part of the internship was probably making relationships with the residents.
My favorite part, I think, was the fact that, like, I knew I was helping people, so, like, it was nice knowing that, like, you're doing something good for people, like, the fact that people can't do, like, everything themselves, so you're, like, helping.
And then one of the biggest challenges for me was gaining the confidence to do stuff on my own and not relying on the people that I was mentoring.
Okay, so my name is Christian. I worked at the Blackstone Valley Hub, and what I did on a normal day is I would head to my job, and I would start working on this thing link right here. And what we would do is that's basically just a planning thing. What we would use to actually make these experiences come to life. And some challenges I had to face were just trying to plan it, honestly. Planning is where most of the hard stuff is at, but the rest of it is honestly just fine. It's not that hard, and that's it, really.
All right, so what I liked most about my internship was obviously seeing all the animals, getting to pet them, getting to, hang out with the clients as well. And the people working there were so sweet and transparent about whatever was going on, and they liked to educate me. They were so passionate about their job, and I looked forward every day going there and seeing everyone, and I really did make some good connections with people. One of the greatest challenges, though, that I faced, like, I'm working with animals at a doctor and at a clinic, so obviously there's not going to be good news all the time, and I did have to, hear about euthanasias and obviously sad days with people going home without their animals, which was upsetting, but, the biggest lesson that I learned from that is life is short. Always make the best of your lifetime with your animals, because you're their whole lifetime. They're only a part of your life for a little bit, but you're everything to them. So just, make use of what you have. So yeah.
So we worked at Concierge Physical Therapy in Sutton, Massachusetts. And I started my day every day at 7 o'clock in the morning. I did get to have Mondays off, which was nice, but 7 a.m. was pretty rough. We helped with getting hot packs for people to loosen up whatever the physical therapist was going to work on. And we also helped with some exercises. And yeah.
I think my favorite part about this internship was getting to talk to the patients, because it's really interesting to see everyone's story, because a bunch of people were there before surgery to help build muscle before the surgery, so that once the surgery's done, they're already strong enough. And then probably my biggest life lesson was about communicating with your employers, because the dynamic between everyone that worked there was very good, and they all communicated well with each other.
One of the biggest lessons I learned is that a lot of things regarding surgery is taboo to talk about. You can't really ask in-depth questions about their surgery because it kind of ekes them out a little bit. Yeah.
Okay, so the part I like most about my internship is just building the relationships with the kids. A lot of these kids are super respectful and very mature, which just made it easy to build friendships and relationships with them. And a big challenge I faced was definitely getting the boys to focus. A lot of the boys are middle schoolers or even younger, which I know they got a lot on their mind, school and whatnot. So yeah, that was definitely a big challenge. And an important lesson I learned while at my internship was patience. Working with kids is having patience is huge when working with kids.
Internship was with the Worcester Bravehearts. So I did a lot of marketing. I worked with their sales team mostly. I did a lot of emailing and contacting businesses for sponsorships and tickets. My favorite part about the internship was playing the mascot. I got to do that a couple times. That was super fun. It's a cool thing to experience. And I'd say an important lesson I learned was the importance of communication, like how important it is to make sure people know what's going on.
The Worcester Probate and Family Court. Mainly what I did was I was at the counter and I handed out paperwork, and I worked with lawyers and litigants. And the biggest challenge I think I faced was learning the paperwork that goes into like divorces and conservatorship and stuff like that. I also was in the courtroom, so I got to see a lot of trials and motions going on. It was definitely very interesting.
All right, I go. All right, what I did was the Millbury Housing Authorities and AARP addressing isolation and loneliness. One of the things that was a huge challenge was connecting with the seniors in our community. One of the life lessons I learned was just kind of, I guess, better conversation skills and continuing a conversation and kind of connecting with people deeper. The life lesson.
Hi, I'm JC. I worked at the Sutton Public Library. One of my favorite things that I did there was painting and doing a whole bunch of crafts. I also worked a lot with books. One of the biggest challenges was probably working with other people and being on the phones. One thing I had to do was answer the phone during I'm blanking. The solar eclipse. We had solar eclipse classes, but we didn't have any more at the day of the solar eclipse, so people kept calling, and I had to answer the phone 20 times in like an hour. So that was one of the hardest things I had to face, which doesn't seem like a lot, but it was a lot. And yeah.
Hi, my name's Lily Sullivan, and I worked at the Tech Together for my internship. I did social media marketing there, and the biggest challenge that I faced was coming up with blog posts or social media posts that would have the most engagement rates for the best interests of the company. And one lesson I learned was to always be professional in the business world, especially when you're in an office full of people.